Level 1. The Conscript. You are 18 years old. You are walking home from the market with a bag of flour when the green transport trucks roll into your village. The dust settles. Men in worn camouflage uniforms step out. They do not ask for volunteers. They point rifles. They point at you. You drop the flour. You are pushed into the back of a truck smelling of diesel exhaust and old sweat. There are 20 other boys with you. None of you speak. You are taken to a training camp in the arid north. They strip you of your civilian clothes. They hand you a uniform that is faded and frayed at the cuffs. They hand you a pair of boots that are one size too large. They hand you an assault rifle that was manufactured in a country that no longer exists, 3 decades before you were born. You are told you are now the shield of the nation. You do not feel like a shield. You feel like target practice. Your training consists of running under the blistering sun until you vomit. You march for miles carrying heavy wooden boxes filled with rocks to simulate ammunition crates. You are hit with bamboo canes if you fall out of line. The sergeants tell you the civilian government in the capital is corrupt. They tell you the politicians are stealing the country's wealth while the people starve. You do not know about politicians. You only know the gnawing hunger in your stomach. Your rations are a bowl of maize porridge and sometimes a piece of tough, unidentifiable meat. You learn to sleep on bare dirt. You learn to strip and clean your weapon blindfolded because the sand gets into every moving part. You learn that hesitation gets you beaten. You graduate. You are deployed to a checkpoint on a dusty highway. Your job is to stand in the sun and look menacing. You stop civilian vehicles. You check identification papers you barely know how to read. You watch the older soldiers extort small bribes from the truck drivers. A few coins to let a shipment of tomatoes pass. A crumpled bill to ignore an expired permit. You do not take the money at first. You feel a lingering sense of civilian morality. That lasts 3 weeks. Then your military pay is delayed. The government says there is a logistical error. You realize the error is that the politicians kept it. You are hungry. The next truck that rolls up is carrying charcoal. You hold out your hand. The driver sighs and places a worn banknote in your palm. You buy a hot meal that night. You have taken your first step into the true economy of the military. Level 2. The Squad Leader. You have survived 3 years. You have a corporal's insignia on your collar. You earned it by not dying during a border skirmish and by shouting louder than the men around you. You are in charge of 10 recruits. They look as young and terrified as you did. You do not pity them. Pity is a luxury that gets people killed. You enforce discipline with a heavy hand. You strike a private for sleeping on watch. You justify it because his sleep could have cost you your life. The political climate is shifting. The radio broadcasts from the capital are full of angry speeches. The civilian president is blaming the army for the economic crisis. The army is blaming the president for the lack of funding. The tension trickles down to your barracks. Your commanding officer calls a formation in the middle of the night. He stands before the company. He says the nation is bleeding. He says the politicians have sold the soul of the country to foreign powers. He says the military is the only pure institution left. He does not use the word coup. He uses the phrase patriotic intervention. You are loaded onto trucks. It is 2 a.m. You drive toward the capital. The air is tense. You hand out live ammunition to your squad. You tell them to lock and load. You tell them to shoot anyone who points a weapon at them, whether they wear a police uniform or a civilian suit. You reach the city limits. The police abandon their barricades when they see the armored personnel carriers. You secure the national television station. You kick down the doors. You point your rifle at the terrified technicians. You order them to keep the broadcast running. An hour later, your battalion commander sits at the news desk. He is wearing his combat fatigues. He reads from a piece of paper. He announces the suspension of the Constitution. He announces the formation of a transitional military council. He says the army has stepped in to restore order. You listen to his voice echoing through the studio. You look out the window at the empty streets below. You feel a strange, intoxicating rush. You are no longer just a poor kid from the provinces. You are the law. Level 3. The Martial Law Commander. It has been 2 years since the intervention. The Transitional Council never transitioned. They simply became the new government. You are a captain now. You command a sector of the capital. The city is under martial law. There is a curfew at sunset. You have a patrol vehicle and a detachment of heavily armed men. You are the absolute authority in your district. If someone is out past curfew, you decide if they are a threat to national security or just a foolish civilian. You decide who gets arrested. You decide whose business is allowed to operate. You decide who gets to bypass the checkpoints. The power is absolute, and it is highly lucrative. The economy has collapsed under international sanctions. Foreign investors fled. The only way to move goods, fuel, or currency is through the military. Businessmen come to your office. They wear expensive suits. They sweat profusely in the heat. They offer you thick envelopes of foreign currency. They do not call them bribes. They call them administrative fees for security logistics. You take the envelopes. You send half up the chain of command to your colonel. You keep the rest. You buy a large house in a secure neighborhood. You buy a generator while the rest of the city suffers through rolling blackouts. You are respected. You are feared. People lower their eyes when you walk into a restaurant. But the fear flows in both directions. You know the junior officers are watching you. They see the house. They see the generator. They know how much you are making. They are hungry, just like you were hungry. You hear whispers in the mess hall, whispers about another patriotic intervention. The current leader has grown soft. He is spending too much time meeting with foreign diplomats and not enough time paying the garrisons. You double the guard around your house. You sleep with a loaded pistol on your nightstand. You trust no one. Your best friend in the academy is now commanding a tank battalion across the river. You drink whiskey with him on weekends, and you spend the whole time trying to read his eyes. You wonder if he has been approached by the dissident colonels. You wonder if he will be the one sent to arrest you when the music stops. Level 4, the Garrison Commander. You are a colonel. You control the main armored brigade stationed just outside the capital. You hold the keys to the kingdom. Whoever controls the tanks controls the presidential palace. The leader knows this. He promotes you. He gives you medals. He invites you to private dinners. He ensures your brigade gets the best rations and the newest equipment imported through gray markets. He is buying your loyalty. It is a very expensive purchase, and the country is running out of money. You are invited to the inner circle meetings. You sit in a climate-controlled boardroom with the other senior officers. You look at the national budget. It is a work of fiction. The real money is in the off-the-books contracts, the gold mines in the east, the rare earth minerals in the south. The foreign mining companies pay the leadership directly in offshore accounts. You see the numbers. You realize the leader and his immediate family are taking the lion's share. They are building mansions abroad while your soldiers are starting to complain about delayed pay again. You know how this story ends. An unpaid army is a mutinous army. If the soldiers mutiny, they will hang the colonels first. You cannot let that happen. You start making quiet phone calls. You meet with other garrison commanders in secure locations. You leave your phones in another room. You speak in hypotheticals. You talk about the necessity of realigning the revolution. You talk about saving the nation from a corrupt leadership. You are using the exact same words the current leader used to justify his coup 5 years ago. The irony does not escape you, but it does not stop you either. You build a coalition. You secure the loyalty of the Air Force and the Special Forces. You wait for the leader to travel to an international summit. The moment his plane leaves the airspace, you give the order. The tanks roll into the capital. There is very little shooting. The palace guard surrenders. They have not been paid either. You walk into the presidential office. The desk is mahogany. The chairs are leather. You sit down in the chair. It feels heavy. It feels permanent. You have reached the summit. Level 5. The Junta Leader. You are the head of state. You promote yourself to general. You address the nation on television. You wear a tailored uniform with a red beret. You look strong. You look resolute. You tell the people that the previous leadership betrayed the revolution. You promise transparency. You promise elections in 2 years. It is the exact same promise every military ruler has made for 4 decades. You have no intention of holding elections. To hold an election is to risk losing power. To lose power in this country does not mean a quiet retirement. It means exile, prison, or a firing squad. You move your family into the palace. You are surrounded by a layered security perimeter. The outer ring is the regular army. The inner ring is the presidential guard. The absolute core is a private security detail made up entirely of men from your own tribe, your own village, your own bloodline. Blood is the only currency that retains its value in a paranoid regime. You manage the country not as a nation, but as a hostile corporate takeover. You negotiate directly with foreign superpowers. The global north condemns your coup publicly, imposing sanctions and demanding a return to civilian rule. Privately, their intelligence agencies send envoys to your palace to secure mineral rights and counter-terrorism cooperation. You play them against each other. You invite private military contractors from the east to provide extra security in exchange for access to the gold mines. You balance the geopolitical scales to ensure a steady flow of weapons and cash, but the cash is never enough. The generals beneath you are hungry. The colonels beneath them are starving. You spend your days managing the greed of armed men. You promote the incompetent ones because they are not a threat. You marginalize the brilliant ones because they are dangerous. You constantly shuffle your cabinet. You never let any single officer build a power base. You have an intelligence agency that spies on the civilian population and a second intelligence agency that spies on the military. You receive daily dossiers on your closest allies. You read transcripts of their phone calls. You look for any sign of hesitation, any whisper of a corrective movement. You sign execution warrants for men you once called brothers. You tell yourself it is necessary for the stability of the nation. You tell yourself you are the only one holding the country together. You work 20 hours a day. You age a decade in 3 years. You have everything. You control the ports, the mines, the media, the courts. You are the absolute sovereign over millions of lives. But you are a prisoner. You cannot walk down the street to buy a cup of coffee. You cannot trust the food on your plate unless your taster eats it first. You cannot look at the young, ambitious captain guarding your door without wondering what he is thinking. You look at him and you see yourself, 10 years ago, hungry and angry and convinced you could do it better. You live in a state of perpetual, suffocating dread. You know the math. Every regime has an expiration date. You are just trying to delay the inevitable. You tighten your grip. You crush a protest in the Capitol. You arrest the opposition leaders. You shut down the internet. You project absolute, unshakable power to the world. And late at night, in the deep silence of the fortified palace, you listen to the distant sound of a truck engine changing gears on the ring road, and your heart skips a beat. You wait for the gunfire. You wait for the door to be kicked in. You wait for the cycle to complete itself. Somewhere in the arid north, a military transport truck rolls into a dusty village. A young boy is walking home with a bag of flour. Men in green uniforms step out. They point rifles. They push him into the back of the truck. He is handed a weapon older than he is. He is terrified. He has no idea what he is about to become. He has no idea about the checkpoints, the envelopes of cash, the late-night meetings, or the mahogany desk. He only knows he wants to survive. He will learn the rules. He will climb the ladder. The cycle continues.